Hello and welcome back to Kingsfield 2, also known as Kingsfield in America. You'll be hearing this as a post-commentary today because, unfortunately, my microphone crashed and I had no idea until the very end of the stream. So we're going to load up our game. So last time we got our foothold set up in the island of Melanat. We are playing as Prince Alexander of Granatiki, and we've done a lot to get ourselves situated. We came in with nothing, not even armor, not even a weapon, and honestly, he came in armed to the teeth. He came in with a battalion of King Alfred Forrester's men, and he came in armed to the teeth. He is a prince who wanted to prove himself with the new holy king of Verdite to reclaim the holy Moonlight sword. So unfortunately, I don't quite remember everything that I spoke about. And I know it's a little bit disappointing because of all the things that come up off the cuff. But one piece of lore that is actually really important, especially for Kingsfield 2, and even for a little bit of Kingsfield 3, is King Harvine. So we're going to do a little bit of backtracking now because I had forgotten something fairly important, and it's so important that I decided that we are going to go all the way back to go get it like ASAP before we go any further. We're really about to start tackling the rhombus cube maze on our way to Central Village, but we are going to do a little backtracking. First, though, I decide if I'm gonna go run into this room and try to steal whatever's in here. But my plan did not go as planned. They had stayed in the room with me, and they do quite a lot of damage. We get some crystal flasks and dragon tree fruit, which are incredibly important. Just as important as they are in Kingsfield 1, which they are full heals and new lives. There's our first trap. Mimics might not be a huge thing in Kingsfield, but they do sort of exist in the forms of trapped chests and trapped walls, just like that. So I'm looking for more hidden walls. And I wonder that since the guys are clipping through that wall, if I can smack them one through the wall. Which doesn't exactly go as planned, but they're able to hit me, which is extremely rude. So I just reload because I don't exactly want to deal with the pair of them. And the items in here aren't that great anyway. There's going to be a couple of reloads. It's a little bit faster than like just dying. So you might be wondering about these guys because the lack of faces are a bit telling. Or not telling. They are under the control of Necron, who is the person that we found out about last time from Nola Bagel. Oh, not Nola Bagel. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but she doesn't know. Anyway, I decided to just go fulfill the mission that I had set up for myself at the beginning. And that is to go backtrack and get what I needed. Now it's fairly obvious from Kingsfield 1, but Kingsfield 2 uses music to denote level changes because there are no loading times after the first load. It uses music to say this is a new level. I make a stop at the healing well. We go after this here snail. Snails are very dangerous, but if you can hang out on their side, they're worth a lot of XP, a lot of valuable strength points. And again, enemies can kill each other, which is why there's so much gold there. The snails probably killed things trying to get at us. Vision cones don't seem to matter when it comes to walls. Snails are actually maybe the second most dangerous enemy at this level, which is level 9, level 10. The first most dangerous enemy are Necron's goons with their crescent axes. I'm already sort of critting the Kraken. And when you crit, they kind of freeze up a little bit. So here I find my way of where I'm going. More snails. And we're going to pick up this wind crystal, which should give us access to Wind Cutter, one of the most famous of FromSoft's spells. The King of Winds, King Harvine III, has started to construct his castle here. Again, like I said at the beginning, we're going to start learning a lot about this King Harvine III. In the first Kingsfield, we learned about Randolph III, who was eventually the final boss. But in this one, we talk about King Harvine III. King Harvine decided to start his castle here. Now, that seems a little bit pedestrian, but remember back at the opening cinematics, now if you take about 80 to 90% of that translation as correct, then it's a bit hubris of Harvine, full of hubris of Harvine to start constructing his castle somewhere that is ostensibly magical. Now this one's locked. And this one is why we came out here for. And this is essentially Kingsfield's version of an Estus flask. It's made out of crystal, and it is the only thing that is able to carry healing water. Basically, consider King Harvine as Kingsfield's version of Gwyn. Very similar sorts of bits of hubris. And I think maybe Kingsfield is more geared towards the exploration of power corrupting and positions of power corrupting. So there you go. And here, I do remember that I was talking about the level design, because if you look down from here, you can see where you started and where you're going. There is a section behind that waterfall that holds a very powerful sword for the end of Act 1, the beginning of Act 2. And we'll go out there soon when we have those keys. But it's too dangerous for us right now. And I don't think we have a method of breathing underwater yet. I forget if Kingsfield 2 has that method. I know Kingsfield 4 does, but yeah. Level design has been part of FromSoft's ethos since day one. And you can see that even in Kingsfield 1 JP. The level design is quite good, even if the graphics take a little bit to get there. But yeah, so Harvine is a bit like Gwyn, and in his ego, he decided to conquer this magical place where at one time a blue speam fell upon, which is essentially the Moonlight Greatsword. And over here we're actually using the crystal flask, filling it with the healing water. You can't use anything else to hold the healing water other than your own self. So there's a couple of different colors of potion. There's the blue potion, there's the red potion, there's the green potion for status elements, and there's the golden potion. And the ultimate version is the gold potion, which is a full heal, full MP, and no statuses. And over here, we're using the wind crystal to grab Wind Cutter. And I think I decide to use it this episode, so we'll see that in action. So yeah, going all the way back there for that crystal flask is very much up there in the need to do things now rather than later. So I'm just gonna hit the save point. When you can die against the next enemy you come across, you save quite a lot. So we're going back to where we were, and we're going to start tackling those goons that we played footsie with earlier. Up there is the way back to one of the villages. Right here, I'm just testing the cone for when this door opens. And it is absolutely when you pass it that it opens up to try to ambush you. Although they're pretty leashed fairly hard there, so I'm just kind of watching them. Now, you're supposed to try to, when you don't have any magic, you're supposed to try to bait them and then hit them. It's the safest way to deal with the goons. Although it doesn't exactly go as planned. And he's stuck somehow? He's still really dangerous, but it's harder when he's stuck to a certain, like, to a single point. So now I'm going to rob that room. And what I just put in there are rhombus keys. Rhombus keys are the item for progression in the next couple of areas. You need 2 for each door. You need 1 to get in and 1 to get out. So it becomes a puzzle of remembering to take them out and keep 1 with you so that you can come back out again. There are ways that you can pretty much screw yourself if you forget to grab them, and you'll have to reload if you need to go back. Here I forget to let the door close. You can't interact with the key until the door closes. So we're gonna go back and save it. Which is essentially like moving our point. We haven't actually started messing with the fast travel system as of yet. We are still missing an item to do so. And I believe that is the moon gate. There's times where I'll just pause, and I think it's because my dog had come up to bother me, wanting me to give them a little bit of attention. Loki's adorable. I won't hear any different. Aha. Yeah, here's... My controller started acting up from here into the rest of the session. So, sudden stops like that will cause me to not be able to move. I was a bit of a dumb and I forgot to charge my controller in preparation for this, which is why I think my microphone had crashed. I think when I connected my controller, VoiceMeeter freaked out. Because when I tried to address it by unplugging and plugging back in my mic at the end of the session, VoiceMeeter like freaked out, and then there was like no audio from RetroArch, like at all. Thankfully, it did save you guys from listening to me mildly complain about my controller. So here we go into the base and the jail, because there's always a jail in a FromSoft game. Here I'm thinking about how to deal with that enemy. Mostly because the goons are still fairly dangerous at this level. Since that's locked, I decide to go down, and then I get surprised by two of the goons. So I decide to try the path of least resistance. In here, there's not much. There is a herb in the bucket. But what he's really protecting is the rhombus key on the table, which I grab and then peace out. Now, it is important to try to kill everything that you come across, especially early on, which kind of makes the game harder early on, because FromSoft games are harder or hardest at the beginning rather than at the end. But you have to balance that with what are you willing to sacrifice to win the fight. So we use the rhombus key in there, decide that's progress, and then we're gonna head downstairs. I'm gonna take the opportunity and then try to push ourselves in. This guy is alone, so I try to Rochambeau him. And he is important to kill, as he will always drop the jail key. Searching for a hidden wall. We find another one of the tunnels, where we find another crystal. This is a light crystal. It gives us the spell light, which illuminates dark places. I believe I also comment on the symbol on the far wall there. Now, I'm not sure if this is like Necron's symbol or the symbol of Gyra. But important places are marked with that symbol. Now remember, Gyra was considered the dragon of the forest, and if we remember the opening credits for Kingsfield 1 JP, we learned that the dragon of the forest saved the people of Verdite from a large battle, or so they believed. As we know from at least Dark Souls, FromSoft likes playing with cultural memory and such like that. The reality is the big battle was between Gyra and Seath, but Gyra decided to save them at the very beginning. From like the battle he and Seath were waging amongst themselves. Neither dragon is good or evil, although Kingsfield 3 makes a very valid point of basically saying Seath is evil. Gyra does what Gyra does in this game because Gyra is trying to kill Seath. Seath in the Japanese text is the white dragon of the darkness. Age text's attempt at patching over Kingsfield 1 and 2 together in the American manual kind of bites them in the rear with the advent of Kingsfield 3. And if I remember correctly from hearsay, Age Tech and FromSoft didn't really interact that much. FromSoft would send an email in Japanese to Age Tech, which was like an office of 10 people and like one translator. And the translator would have to translate the email, localize it, give it to whoever needed to see it, and then do it in reverse. So localization and time, I assume they were under crunch all the time. So here we are in the jail. There's a head eater. Always kind of makes me hungry for a watermelon whenever I see them. And here we have a soldier of Verdite. Once again, to reinforce that the soldiers that we are fighting are not soldiers of Verdite, as their armors look completely different. And we're just looking for hidden walls now. There's more to this jail than it appears at first glance. For instance, there's an NPC. I can't imagine why Alexander came to this island. King Alfred's soldiers have almost been wiped out, and I can't do anything. I have a stone that an elf gave to the king's father. Please take it with you. And we get a stone that looks a bit like Seath. We haven't found the King's Sword yet. Necron's power is stronger than before, and I think that he also controls the monsters. King's Sword being the Moonlight Greatsword. The remaining soldiers must be waiting for my help. I have to find them, and then try to save them. I hope everyone is still alive. So we free him from his prison, probably put there by the goons. And I believe he's one of the villagers. But since he's dressed like one, he's not dressed like a soldier of Verdite, but he could be a soldier of Verdite. I forget what his name is. I'd have to, like, look it up. And so this is the Dragonstone that he just gave us. So we're poisoned, of course. And I try to get the green slime to take off the poison. Green slimes can take off poisons. Red slimes are poisonous. But yeah, I'm not sure if it took it off or if it just wore off, but yeah, green slimes can take off the poison. Always look for some hidden walls. We're gonna head to the other side. That's the sound of one of the goons shooting their bow and arrow at us. So we're going to go fix that, because he's making a lot of noise. And then we're going to start from the top jail cell, which is already unlocked. And then we're going to hit the last one. And voila, there is a hidden wall there. This leads into another one of the tunnels, which looks more hastily excavated than constructed. And we're going to find a couple of ghosts. I always seem to go too far forward when I'm coming back, and they slowed me here, so... They also give dark. If I added some MP, I could use the light spell that we just acquired. And I just decide to wait out the darkness before continuing forward. Take care of this head eater. And this one. We find ourselves another rhombus key, which will come into handy. Those things are always useful. Here's a couple of more snails. Always attack them from the side, or see if they can attack each other. Never sit in front of them. Their turn radius is worse than yours. Over here is a one-way drop. We've actually been there. So one of the snails dropped another dagger, which we'll have to sell for some gold. Still a couple more paths to discover. And this is the door we just came out of. And so this is the only path to go. This says, do not enter, old hand. Which we immediately say, no, we're gonna enter. And so in a room bathed in moonlight, if you can make it out, the pillars are all the different phases of the moon. And it is a very large fountain with the moon high overhead. And so we have come to the source of the healing water that we were so dependent on at the beginning of the game. And we do have something that goes right into those slots. And it's a matter of choosing which one. Each one has a different property. And they all come together to give you the gold fountain. So there are 3, and you put all 3 in, you get the gold fountain, which is the best healing item in the game. Full MP, full HP, and a removal of all status effects. it's actually somewhat ambitious compared to Kingsfield 3. Kingsfield 3 either has the heal water or the gold water. So I choose this one. And we are rewarded with red tinged water. Which gives us MP back. Very useful. Now that we have MP, we can start slinging around spirals again. So we're going to draw some MP water. And we're going to, I think, drink some normal water to heal back up. And here I'm going to switch to the wind cutter. And so now we're in a very good place. This is one of the big power goals in the game. Coming here is a big goal because now you have access to healing water and MP water or status ailment alleviating water if you choose that one. And you know, this is a big thing for your power progression. It's not like adding to your level stats or anything like that, but the ability to easily get your MP back, the ability to also get your HP back, and to have a new, fairly good base of operations in this Seath's Fountain. Seath is a water dragon, by the way. Is fairly important. So this becomes a place that you need to remember where it is all the time. Now, I was just a little bit dismissive, but yes, Seath is a water dragon. In fact, the most powerful spell in this game is called Seath in the water branch. The most powerful water spell, I mean. Fairly kind of echoed in the game Eternal Ring, although they're somewhat completely different. They're both water dragons and they're both very similar looking, but neither dragon seem all that connected other than that. It gives a new spin on the whole reason why Seath is enamored with Crystal, other than the fact that Crystals figure actually much more in Kingsfield 2 and 3, with 3 introducing the human sword Exelector, which is made out of crystal, and combined with the MLGS restored by Gyra's consciousness. One of the keys to like killing Seath. So we just saw some progression, and I believe I'm going to actually go save before we go mess with all of that. So here is how the Windcutter looks. Now you can actually fight the soldiers much more comfortably when you are able to stun them with magic before you hit them with your sword. Never forget your rhombus key, and I do at one point. So here is actually a fairly difficult puzzle room. There are a couple of archers on either side, and there's a bunch of doors. And also the entrance to Big Mine, which is actually far past our abilities as of right now. Right now, I'm going to show the one-way drop, where that ends up, before we do progress. And that's where that all leads to. That's actually nothing but the soldier, and we're back at the central hallway. And I didn't exactly want to fight that guy. And they've already respawned. Industrial's little slimes. So now that we've closed that loop, we can go right back around. So here I'm just gonna run for the next door I see, which is coincidentally the door to the big mine. And I am greeted with archers who hurt a lot. They like really don't want me there, and they killed me fairly quickly. So we're reloading. Just checking to make sure we are where we are. This is where I forget to grab my rhombus key, because I didn't remember the layout of this room. And we come here and I hear the music change, and so I wanted to go back and clear out the room we were just in, just to make sure we didn't miss anything. And on the way back, I'm just checking for hidden walls. It's just kind of a thing you do in Kingsfield games. You just look for hidden walls by bashing your face against them. And there we read the entrance to the big mine sign. And now I remember the way back to the archers. So revenge will be ours. At least in part. He drops an bow, an arrow, not a bow. Although that is a clue to the other major power-up for Alexander in this stage of the game, which is the acquisition of the bow. Which you wouldn't think is like a huge deal, but it is actually being able to do ranged attacks that aren't tied to your magic. Fairly important, especially for the next boss. Now, while Kingsfield 1J only really has two bosses, the dark sorcerer and the final boss, there are bosses in this game, although you probably wouldn't realize it. We've already actually seen one, and that is the big kraken at the beginning of the game, but it is a fool's errand to try to beat it at the beginning of the game. It is not for the beginning of the game. It's a boss you see, and then you run away from, and then you come back later. Here's where I realized that I didn't have any rhombus keys left, and I had no real healing, and I was a bit stuck. But yeah, there's bosses in this game, although the first one is very much a gimmick. Seeing those guys there, I then try to get my rhombus key, but I had forgotten to grab them. So I believe I reload the save. Never forget your rhombus keys. So, having seen the state of our resources, we decide to head back to one of the villages and resupply. Each equipment has its own characteristics, so you must choose your equipment very wisely. So I go back and forth of whether I want to buy the knight sword or some defense. I end up buying some defense. Most, if not everything, can be found, but you're not going to really take a hit in how much things are going to be selling for if you do buy them and then have to resell it. So I grab that, and then I think I grab a bunch of herbs. Now I know I've missed a couple of things when it comes to armor, because you are supposed to come up with a full set. But I have the gold, so I might as well start picking up better pieces. Now that we are better prepared, we're going to head back to save, and then I think we're going to go back to that area. This seems like my dog has come for more attention. Honestly, the places where all the merchants are probably getting their, like, night garb from, it's probably from the dead bodies that are washing up ashore. And any other Verdite soldier that survived has ended up here and there. So now I realize what the layout of this room is, and so we're going to clear it out now. And he drops another rhombus key. And he still drops a bow, and well, an arrow for the bow. So now the only place left is the big door with the weird symbols on it. I suppose anything that is of any importance is framed with those symbols. So the music has changed, and we are essentially finished with that level. We have entered a new one, only to be greeted with an arrow to the knee. So now we have come to a new central hallway, and this is the entrance to the central village. Down here we will find the archers, or one of them. And through here, we will find another NPC. Did you see a little boy run around here? I'm looking for my son, Sandler. I've warned him not to go into the underworld, but he's crazy about treasure hunting. I hope he comes back soon. He's gathering worthless scraps that he calls treasures. He told me that he found the termite's nest. I'm very concerned about him because termites are very dangerous. I think he's at Meryl's place. He always goes there to ask about the containment continent. Maybe he found some treasure to show him. Oh, what a troublemaker he is. You know those children running off and getting caught in termites' nests. Now, if you saw behind her, her part of the village has sunlight, as does this part of the village. Now, termites are an enemy we've seen here and there, but not to any huge extent. Here, we will start seeing them in a much larger group. Don't come into my house without permission. Everybody is nervous because Sandler has disappeared. I'll talk to you later. I don't have anything for you. I'm busy now. Get out of here. What a brat. Sandler always gives Crola a hard time. Now, you can push Crola out of the way. This is Keel Hunt. By, like, using your sword, because you can't kill NPCs in this game. But you can use the sword swing to, like, push her out of the way. We're gonna do it the right way. It's not that difficult. Over here we'll find a couple of barrels and a bucket, and we'll find some herb and a crystal shard. I was sure I was sure there was a hidden wall there. But we have found ourselves a save point, which is always welcome. We're going to head down the hall. There's something written there, but oh no! We have fallen through into the termites' trap. So, this is a weird location, but it is essentially inside of a tree. And this is where the termites have been living. Termites are dangerous because they can inflict paralyze. And if you can't move in this game, you're essentially dead. You're just going to have to wait till you die. If you're lucky, you will kill them before... You will kill them right when the paralyze hits. If you're going to get hit with paralyze. But that is the real danger of termites. Termites are very good sources of crystal shards and crystals of various sorts. But the termites have essentially built a small little city for themselves. It's very rude for them to spawn behind you. We found a blood crystal on that pile of bones. The Pokemon type enemies are really annoying. Over here, we're going to find a very important bit of lore, but we can't seem to access it yet. This is a dragon tree. In fact, the one you find in Kingsfield 3 has a huge lore dump. And you will find a few of these all over the place. This is where the dragon tree fruit are grown. And it is kind of funny that this is growing inside of a tree. The termites have essentially left it alone, which means the termites know how important it is as well. And we'll find our truth mirror, which we have gotten one in Kingsfield 1 JP. We will get one again in Kingsfield 3, and it makes a cameo appearance in Kuan and maybe I think a couple other places. Mirrors are also somewhat important in Dark Souls 2, but we don't get the truth mirror there. We get other sorts of mirrors. Thanks, Aldia. So here I'm trying to use the truth mirror on the dragon tree, but we're not getting anything, so we're gonna move on. I think I might give it one more shot, but yeah, essentially we're gonna move on. And so that hole coming up should land us in the area behind the waterfall, but I don't think we have the stuff to get ourselves out of that yet, so right now it's essentially death. So now we're on the upper floor, and there are larger termites, the medium-sized. These are very likely to hit you with paralyze. So this is the way out, and it has a rhombus key in it for more rhombus key doors. That is the way out. But there's more for us to explore here, so we're just going to keep doing that. Here's something written. They can be attacked by bows. Take good aim. And there's your clue for this boss. And those of you from who know Dark Souls 2 should probably know what that is. Although in Dark Souls 2 it's not a termite queen, but it is the ant in the gutter. Very, very similar. The best way to attack her is, as the clue says, with a bow. And since we came in here a little bit early, we're not going to attack her yet. Although you certainly can attack her melee. As long as she's alive, there will always be termites. There's the maximum of, I think, 4 that are spawned around her, and they protect her. She doesn't attack herself. So I believe now I'm kind of just looking for my way out. I did forget which hallway it was to leave. So now I'm just kind of roaming around. Very good for XP grinding, honestly. And because the termites are unending when the queen is still alive, you can use that as a very good place to level up if you felt like it. That reeked of trap, so I'm just going to turn around. We did fall through one of the more harmless traps. Just dropping you back into the first floor. A couple of these traps are instant death, pretty much. So now we have found our way out, back into the central village hallway, where we find some interesting things, but we're going to turn right back around. And we're going to open this door. This is the base number 2. And that is actually going to be our next area of interest because of what was on the floor, if you are eagle-eyed enough to have seen. But first, I believe we are going to hit the save point first. Well, the save point we do know of. I still think there's something there, but apparently not. And we're now level 13, which is a fairly good place to be at this stage. So we're going to try this door. And we're going to be surprised with another save point. Actually, the first time I played this game on my PlayStation 3, I turned around from this save point and the fortune teller was right behind me. The fortune teller is a special NPC. She appears and disappears randomly across the grid. So she was right behind me and she scared the bejesus out of me. The fortune teller tells you the lore behind certain items and objects. I'm going to grab that phantom rod and some more arrows. And the sound is an enemy that knows that we're there, but they're in a completely different area. So it's kind of funny to listen to them like shoot fireballs but not hit anything because the vision cone doesn't care about the wall. So now we're going to go back to that room that we saw marked with the symbol. And I'm going to take my red potion. And we're going to attack these guys. Try to do it as safely as possible. Now that one's done, it gets infinitely easier, because now I can just use my sword. The real prize is the bow over here. The bow is essential to, well, it's not really essential because you can melee the termite queen, but it is the easiest way of killing the termite queen. On top of that, it is also another one of our rapid power-ups. Gaining the tool of a bow is very important for Alexander's progression. And that is essentially what Act 1 is. You're gathering your tools back while you are regaining your strength as you've basically been shipwrecked on this island. And this island of Melanot very much reminds me of the island of Avalon. And for those who aren't like super into myths like that, it is the Britannia myth of essentially purgatory. Ghosts and the dead or the recently dead live on the island of Avalon, which has apple trees all over it. So, in a way, this game takes place in purgatory. Alexander died and was washed up ashore in this island of purgatory. Termites nest ahead, watch your step. Now the funny thing is you have to run over the hole that I initially fell through. Those FromSoft, those jokers. So if you're just walking to read it, you'll fall right through and you won't be able to read it. And if you run over it and you read it, you're like, well, what's the point now? But yeah, the island of Melanot and the island of Avalon as basically purgatories are very similar indeed. And there's something to be said about different purgatories in souls as well. Demon souls as Boletaria and Verdite share very similar things. Um, Verdite is a city on the continent with Granatiki and one other, but Kingsfield 1J describes Verdite as a city surrounded by a deep forest and a colorless fog in the northern continent. So if you're going to big brain this and make that FromSoft unified theory, it all kind of stems from there. So what we're doing now is we're heading over to the Termite Queen. Because now that we have the tools at our disposal to take her out, we can do so. Although I'm being a bit reckless and getting hit for quite a lot. Essentially, my mic should come back on. Essentially, right after we defeat the Termite Queen, although I die right after it because I couldn't hear audio. So, if I get cut off, thank you very much for joining me, for coming to the stream, and for taking the time to listen to my ramblings after the fact. I'm sorry this is post-commentary. I'll try to make sure that my mic is not dead next time. So on the screen, we are attacking the Termite Queen. And a few of the termites are looking to protect her. The real boss fight is in the 4 termites trying to protect you. So I'm switching back and forth from my sword to the bow as opportunity arises. It does not take stamina to shoot your arrow. That's why your stamina bar doesn't replenish. It's a little off-putting. I think I miss a couple here. So it took about 9 arrows to kill her. Yes, bloodstones can alleviate paralyze. And this is when I know about my mic. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I'm sorry my mic was dead. Thank you for joining me for the stream. We'll basically pick up next time with killing the termite queen again and finishing up the Sandler quest.